Ever wonder what is up with all the hype around yachts? It seems like every celebrity has been photographed on one, every billionaire owns one, and even the royal family is getting in on the yacht action. As someone who gets seasick way too easily, I've never felt like yachts were my cup of tea, especially when you look at their hefty price tag. Just guess how much this yacht here costs. Did you guess 1 million? Maybe $5 million? I personally would have thought this yacht would have been around $3 million right here, but nope, apparently I'm not in the know, because according to this Wall Street Journal piece, this yacht is $14 million. And the cost doesn't just end when you buy the yacht itself. You are still looking at maintenance and cleaning costs, docking fees, and crew salaries. Yeah, you're apparently not allowed to run a yacht of that size without a crew. It's mandatory even if you're docked. Altogether, the Wall Street Journal piece breaks down the estimated yearly cost of that $14 million yacht to be a whopping $1.9 million. That means that every single year that you are owning that yacht, you are paying almost $2 million, or about 1/7 of the total cost of the yacht every single year. Is that not insane? It's like how home ownership has all these hidden costs that people don't think about, from property taxes to maintenance to HOA fees. But where a house can often go up in value over time, also known as an appreciating asset, yachts? Not so much. They're more like cars, which are depreciating assets, meaning that they lose value every day you own them. It's like your Jack Sparrow pulling into port with your ever-sinking money pit. And some money pits are larger than others. If you think $14 million is a lot, which, to be clear, it is, you'll be mildly, if not all out, horrified by how expensive some yachts are. Like Mark Zuckerberg's $300 million yacht that comes with a helipad and can host 24 guests. Which, maybe I'm being picky, but if I'm paying $300 million, I want to be able to bring more than just 24 guests on board. That feels, shall I say, small? But don't worry, at least you have another supporting ship that follows the main yacht around, and that puppy is $30 million. Same thing with Jeff Bezos' enormous $500 million yacht that set sail last year. It's one of the biggest luxury yachts in the entire world and even has its own Wikipedia page. Its support vessel, by the way, that smaller boat that follows it around, yeah, it costs $53 million. $53 million, not for the boat that you stay in, but just the smaller boat that follows you around with extra stuff in case you need it. And not that this video is meant to be directly political, and I'm not saying that these people haven't provided a certain level of value to society, but I do feel compelled to mention that Jeff Bezos' true tax rate is less than a public school teacher in the United States, and that some years he doesn't even pay a penny in federal income taxes. But hey, who needs tax fairness and better roads when you could have a sweet mini yacht for your big yacht? But even though these boats cost a fortune, are a headache to maintain, and are money pits that actively lose money every single day, I don't know if these yacht owners think through all that or maybe even care, because I'd argue many of them are simply paying for the privilege to flex their wealth. There is a hype around yachts for sure, but it's not just pretty views and privacy. It's more than that. It's the bragging rights. It's feeling like you can flex status to others in your circle. And this isn't just for buying yachts. It's also for those who rent them out, who want the candid photos while they're sprawled out on deck. Yacht culture is what happens when designer brands aren't enough. Things like Gucci flip-flops and Van Cleef bracelets or Louis Vuitton bags dripping in labels aren't how the ultra-wealthy flex their wealth. That's something I talked about in my How Designer Brands Keep You Poor video, but there is no escape to that status-driven hamster wheel if you're willing to stay on it. If you are playing the comparison game, someone is always going to have more money than you, or more status than you, or in this case, a bigger boat than you. Whether the people involved in yacht culture have real money or not, I'd argue they are still playing the fake rich flexing game. And you know what is so frustrating about the fake rich flexing game is that it relies so heavily on consumption to make yourself interesting. I've mentioned before my idea of the consumption versus creation spectrum, my belief that we should be focusing more on creation-based activities to form our identities around rather than consumption-based activities. So instead of just shopping for fun, maybe we learn to paint or cook, or we work on building community, things that you can't just buy. Like right now, I'm working on becoming a better home chef by taking cooking and baking classes on Masterclass, which happens to be today's sponsor. With Masterclass, I am learning from the best of the best. You know Gordon Ramsay, the famous and occasionally angry British chef? Yeah, he's teaching me knife skills in the kitchen right now. And better yet, Masterclass is thousands of online lessons that can be streamed anytime, even just on audio mode like a podcast, starts at only $10 a month, meaning I don't have to dish out a fortune to get Gordon Ramsay cooking lessons, and I don't have to worry about him calling me an idiot sandwich when I mess up. By the way, the other classes I'm taking right now on Masterclass include Modern Japanese Cooking by Michelin chef Nikki Nakayama, because Japanese food is my all-time favorite. No debate whatsoever. And a French pastry fundamentals class by award-winning pastry chef Dominique Ansel, something my friends will tell you I desperately need because I suck at baking. I once made brownies where when you bit into them, there were just these uncooked flour chunks. It was very sad. But if you love learning, and especially if you love learning in a fun, engaging way with absolute experts in the field, you are going to love Masterclass. They have so many incredible topics and teachers, from Mark Cuban teaching business to Anna Wintour teaching leadership to Shonda Rhimes teaching TV writing. Each lesson is packed with exclusive content and insights that you are not going to find anywhere else. And the video lessons are shot like they're a film. Very cinematic, very beautiful. If anything, honestly, just take a look at all of the amazing classes Masterclass offers. I'm certain you're going to find a ton that you want to check out. And if you want to try Masterclass yourself, plans start at only $10 a month billed annually. And right now you can get 15% off a Masterclass subscription. It might make a good gift for yourself or for somebody else. You can click the link in my description to get started today, and a huge thank you to Masterclass for sponsoring today's video. So every year, Cannes Film Festival takes place in Cannes, France. And while yes, there are plenty of movie stars, red carpets, and artsy films afoot, one of the main staples of the festival is the yacht culture. Tons of gorgeous luxury boats line the Cannes harbors and become the party headquarters of the festival. It's interesting if you compare it to hotels or renting mansions, which in my head would make for a great place to host a party, versus a cramped boat that's rocking on the harbor and probably has teeny tiny bathrooms. But for some reason, yachts command the allure here. Emma Spence, a PhD who has spent years studying the lifestyles of the ultra wealthy, explains that yachts are all about showing off more than the travel that they offer. As the Guardian article on Spence's work puts it, quote, "The vessels are unique among prestige assets. Unlike private jets, they're not a useful mode of transport. Unlike art and property, they always depreciate in value. Instead, as one owner told her, what makes a yacht desirable is that it, quote, allows the super rich to perform their wealth status." I think the lack of practicality is actually one of the main draws of yacht culture and flexing. Ultra wealthy flexing has long been centered around impracticalities and excess for excess's sake. Think about the Palace of Versailles. It was built on a swamp, already incredibly impractical, and it required decades of work. It was estimated to cost as much as $300 billion in today's money. Now, is it a gorgeous palace? For sure. But did it need to be so big and made of so much gold? I don't think so. I mean, France already had a palace. It's not like they needed another. But just like how the Palace of Versailles went above and beyond just to show the world how rich France was, yachts do the same. They're small, they require barnacle scraping, and they are super weather reliant, so don't even think about using it if storms are coming. You don't buy a yacht because it's useful. You buy it because it is something that most people could never dream of affording. But back to the Cannes Film Festival and the celebrity obsession. On one hand, you could argue that yachts offer a certain level of privacy. If you're out sailing, maybe it's harder for paparazzi to get shots of you. But I also think there's something to be said about the innate exclusivity of a yacht. I mean, we talked about earlier Mark Zuckerberg's $300 million yacht that only is able to fit about 24 guests. If you can only fit so many people on a yacht, you can feel like you're part of some elite club. Each boat docked at Cannes is less about relaxation and more about who is invited on board and who is left out. It's like the whole VIP section mentality, but with way higher stakes. Unfortunately, and I'm not going to spend too long on this part because it's quite dark, dark and based a lot in rumors, but parts of yacht culture are supposedly involved with a lot of exploitation too. Yachting is this idea that some wealthy yacht host may be paying for the time and attendance of certain celebrities and models, paying for them to party on yachts together and possibly do more, aka trafficking. The yacht girls and boys in this world are used like expensive toys. They're another way for the person bankrolling the yacht to signal status. And this gets back to what I mentioned at the beginning about how all of this is fake rich flexing. Because you might be thinking, well, a lot of these yacht folks do seem rich, but it's worth asking ourselves, what does rich truly mean? Because I'd argue that fake rich flexing is about falling into the illusion of what it means to be rich. Not just having money, but spending that money on conspicuous consumption to try and elevate yourself in the eyes of others. The chase can be intoxicating and lead you to making insane requests like this one.
While vacationing in St. Barth, some guests just had to have bagels from a very specific place in New York. And to put that in perspective, that is St. Barth's and way up there is New York. But the crew did it. They got a private jet to go get the bagels and fly them all the way out and taxi them right to the boat.
But the game is rigged because that rich illusion is an illusion. It is fake. It is unwinnable. If you've ever seen the movie Triangle of Sadness, the movie mostly takes place on a luxury yacht cruise full of wealthy folks, from weapons manufacturers to Russian oligarchs. And without giving spoilers away, I will say that the film does an incredible job of both showing how the illusion of wealth commands power over our behaviors, while also showing how incredibly fragile all of that illusion truly is. Triangle of Sadness is honestly one of the best films I've seen in the last few years, and there is tons of yacht culture weirdness to watch in it. So if you're looking for a great movie to add to your list, I highly recommend. And for those who might not be able to afford buying a yacht themselves, chartering yachts becomes the next best option. For reference, chartering a yacht can cost around $100,000 to $200,000 a week. If you ask my parents, their advice is that having a boat sounds like it sucks, so having friends with boats, that's where it's at. Which sounds a bit like being a leech, but personally, I would rather do that than spend $100,000 renting a boat for a week. But for many, renting or chartering becomes the way to brush up against the aspirational iconography that yacht culture has, despite not being able to buy a whole yacht. The shiny wood floors, the windy hair against the endless blue background. I'd argue even yacht crew members becoming influencers is evidence of how mainstream yacht culture aspiration is becoming. Maybe I'll never be a billionaire in my lifetime, but I could be adjacent to one, or I can cosplay one on social media with yacht pictures. Again, fake rich flexing, my friends. And what blows my mind with all of this is truly the opportunity cost involved. I'm not saying a yacht wouldn't be fun. I'm not saying that I would say no to one. If a friend who owned like a $30 million yacht invited me for a weekend, I'd probably say yes and just pack lots of Dramamine. But when I think about what is driving people to yacht culture, to spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a week, if not millions, I see genuine enjoyment, and then I see fake rich flexing, or that desire to live up to what we think that rich should look like. And I personally think that most people, if they were honest with themselves, are being driven more by fake rich flexing when it comes to yachts. Because I have watched these social media yacht videos now, and it just doesn't seem like that much fun. People are going through storms, they're getting seasick, they're struggling to bring their luggage in, they're cramped in small space. I know I sound like a complainer here, and maybe this is really just me having seasickness flashbacks, but also think about what that money could go to instead. And I'm not just talking maxing out your 401k, okay, you should do that, but that is not what I'm talking about. I mean, think about the gorgeous resorts that you could go to all over the world that could cater to every single need of yours and that doesn't have the ground swaying 24/7. You could rent castles on mountains with beautiful waterfalls nearby, or you could book exclusive hiking tours with the most breathtaking views and awe-inspiring views that you could ever imagine. Like, what about all of that? Not to mention, obviously, there are enormous environmental costs involved with yachts. According to The Guardian, quote, owning a mega yacht is the most polluting activity a single person can possibly engage in. Unsurprising, since you're essentially looking at a floating resort for just you and a handful of friends, you end up seeing yachts spitting out heavy carbon emissions, polluting oceans with paint and sewage and debris, and damaging local ecosystems like coral reefs by simply running into them.
Oh, look at me! I'm gonna go touch the butt!
I know that unfortunately the environment is not going to be a huge consideration for everyone, especially those buying mega yachts, but hey, maybe there's some billionaire out there who watches this and will now think twice before dishing out a cool milli on one. Sorry, not a cool milli, a cool 100 milli. Because when you peel back the layers of exclusivity and extravagance, what is left? A high-maintenance, resource-guzzling status symbol that spends more time parked as a showpiece than actually at sea? So next time you see a celebrity or a billionaire living their best life on a yacht, hopefully it won't spark FOMO, but instead serve as a reminder of the costs, not just to their wallet, but to the environment and the flashy emptiness behind that luxury. But what do you think? Have you been fascinated by yacht culture before? And what other aspects of fake rich flexing should I cover next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And a huge thank you to my patrons on Patreon and those on Buy Me a Coffee for supporting this channel, and for you guys for just watching. If you want to see more fake rich flexing videos, I have a whole playlist. I have 2 other videos and I want to make a lot more, so check those out after, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!